This is David Wheaton. The following is a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. You can hear the full program at thechristianworldview.org. Islam's going to become dominant in Europe. It already is to a certain extent, but at some point, there's a tipping point. And I think they're nearing it within the next 10 or 20 years there. How do we stop that from happening in America?
That's an excellent question, David, and I agree with your assessment about Europe. Without drastic action, which I think is very unlikely, Europe is going to be Islamicized and it's going to be absorbed by totalitarianism. And it may not even be 20 years. You look at many major European cities, Muslims now run them. Muslims with help from the communists and the socialists and the globalists. And we're watching that process accelerate very rapidly through chain migration, through very high birth rates that Westerners stopped having many, many generations ago. So Europe is in major trouble. And I think at this point, it's going to take almost a miracle for them to pull out of this. The United States might still be able to stop this process, but it's going to require some actions that people are not going to be very comfortable with. It's going to require large-scale deportation. I think Donald Trump is trying to do this right now, but look at the flack that he's getting. It's going to require major changes to our immigration laws. We already have many millions of Muslims who've been imported under Barack Obama, under Joe Biden. Many of these now are able through chain migration to bring their siblings and their parents and their children. And before you know it, the whole village will be here. We actually saw this happen in Sweden. I was living there shortly before coming back to the United States. Was the last country I lived in. And chain migration ended up being a tsunami. Right? As soon as one gets there, the whole family comes and then their whole family comes. And very soon you've got far more than originally came in. So it's going to require those things. And in terms of serving in government, if you go back through our history, what you'll find is our founding fathers almost universally acknowledged that this country was based on Christian principles. Our Constitution actually acknowledges our Lord, Jesus Christ, of course, not Allah, not Muhammad, not Buddha, not any of these others. One of the interesting things about our system is that everyone who wants to serve in public office is required to take an oath to the United States Constitution. And there's a real question about whether true believers in Islam, true believers in the Quran, can faithfully take that oath. They have a doctrine called taqiyya, where they're allowed to deceive infidels for the advancement of Islam, for the advancement of Allah's cause. But we cannot have people who will not take a legitimate oath to our Constitution serving in our government, especially if their motive is to actually overthrow our system of government. And I believe that's a possible tool that could be used, but it's going to take some very dramatic action. And I think more importantly than anything, David, it's going to take a revival. Unless Americans turn back to God, unless Americans turn back to Jesus Christ and the Bible, I think America is already being judged, and I think the judgment is going to get worse and more severe in the days ahead. And it's interesting because even Martin Luther regarded the Islamic invasions of Europe as a judgment of God for the wickedness that was spreading in Europe. I think that's a very reasonable hypothesis.
This has been a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. To hear the full program and connect with this nonprofit radio ministry, go to thechristianworldview.org. I'm David Wheaton.